I don't
Yeah,
know.
there seems to be a loophole that Tupac's death continues to fall in. But as Shakurs, we're kind of used to not being able to trust the legal systems to protect us in that way.
The late rapper Tupac Shakur has hired a team of investigators to look into what they say is a link between Sean Diddy Combs and the murder of the hip-hop star in 1996.
So Diddy is sick and tired of people pointing fingers at him for unaliving Tupac, and he's finally breaking his silence about the whole thing. In case you missed it, Tupac's family recently hired an investigative team to reinvestigate Diddy's connection to Tupac's death, and the lawyer has been unearthing some bombshell evidence that places Diddy right at the center of it all. Not just that, but some of the receipts this lawyer is pulling up could actually prove Diddy was the one who gave the order to end Tupac and send him to jail for good. However, Diddy is not taking any of this lying down. His legal team is working overtime to clear the allegations, and they're saying Diddy has nothing to do with Tupac's murder. But girl, no matter what Diddy's lawyers say, it's not looking good for him right now because the feds are allegedly also gathering information about Tupac's death, and they're reportedly planning to hit Diddy with charges relating to the case soon. So did Diddy really have anything to do with Tupac's death? And what exactly does Tupac's family's lawyer know about all this? Let's break it down. So things got much more heated in Diddy's camp recently when Tupac's family announced that they hired a lawyer to reinvestigate the incidents leading up to his unaliving. The lawyer was apparently asked to focus on Diddy's involvement with the incident, and baby, there's so much to unpack here. The first thing the lawyer did was to start asking a bunch of questions around town. And I don't know what it is, but it looks like people are way more willing to spill everything they know now than they were almost 30 years ago. Because some of the new details coming out about this case are just mind-boggling. I mean, after so many years of the case being cold, most people already assumed the world was never gonna find out who actually murked Tupac. But everything changed in September of last year when Dwayne "Kef D" Davis was arrested on charges relating to the murder of Tupac Shakur. Kef D wasn't directly accused of being the trigger man, but investigators believe he was in the car where the shots came from and helped plan the murder. At the time, Las Vegas Police Homicide Lieutenant Jason Johansson revealed that Dwayne Davis was the shot caller for this group of individuals that committed this crime, and he orchestrated the plan that was carried out. Kef D, a self-proclaimed gang leader, has been on record talking about his involvement in Tupac's death. In his 2019 autobiography, Compton Street Legend, Kef D basically admitted that he knew some details about that night that could implicate him in the murder. Then he went on an interview with Vlad TV and confessed to being in the car with another guy named Orlando Anderson, who he claims was the gunman.
And Baby Lane and Freaky were in the back seat.
We was just all in the car together.
Okay. This was the white Cadillac?
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are driving around, and then you hear these girls say, "Tupac, Tupac."
No, we coming up, what's the name? What's that, Flamingo?
Kef later admitted to being the one that provided the hammer used in the shooting, and he told this weird story about it also that implicated Diddy. According to Kef D, Diddy paid him $1 million to delete Tupac and Suge Knight, who were his biggest ops at the time due to the whole East Coast, West Coast rivalry. Kef claimed that Diddy gave the money to one of his associates, a guy named Eric Von Knight. However, Kef said he never got the money because Eric took off with it and used it to open the club. The story was just so weird that nobody took it seriously at first. It seemed like Kef was just chasing clout and trying to maybe get a book deal or something out of this story. What made it worse was that when he was getting arrested, Kef didn't sound like someone who was about to go down for murder. He just kept going on and on about how this was the biggest case in the history of Las Vegas and how he was a pro and had nothing to worry about. Child, if we didn't know how serious the case against him was, you could almost say he was happy to get arrested.
Hey, Keith, Metro Police, come over here. Hey, Metro Police, come over here, all right? Thanks, buddy. Come on over here. Appreciate your cooperation, okay? I'm gonna stand right here in front of the car. Yep. Yep, we're going to put it down. I know, hang on. Put that down for a second, all right? You got nothing on you, right? Hooks. You have anything on you, sir? No. All right. Okay, yeah, we'll get you a drink. Hang on, all right? Just want to make sure you got no weapons on you or anything, okay? I'll separate the two, sir. Thank you.
So people were ready to dismiss Kef D as just another retired thug trying to maintain relevance in his old age by clinging to the Tupac story. However, with all the new details coming out about what really went down that night, people are starting to wonder if Diddy really might have been the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. For context, Diddy and Tupac were enemies because they fell on opposite sides of the East Coast-West Coast beef in the 90s. But they weren't always ops. In fact, at some point, Tupac wanted to get signed to Diddy's Bad Boy Records because he wanted to work with fellow black artists. Tupac was also close to Biggie, who was kind of Diddy's right-hand man at the time. However, between jealousy and rivalry that took over the rap scene at the time, Tupac's friendship with Biggie and Diddy turned sour, and they became enemies. Everything came to a head on the night of September 7th, 1996, when Pac and the other big names in the industry attended the infamous Bruce Seldon vs. Mike Tyson match at the MGM Grand. Someone from Pac's crew spotted a guy named Orlando Anderson, aka Baby Lane, a member of the Southside Compton Crip gang who was believed to have stolen a death row chain earlier. Pac and his crew confronted Baby Lane, and this led to a brawl that was actually picked up by the hotel surveillance footage. Later that night, Tupac and some of his crew members were at a stoplight when a white Cadillac sedan pulled up to the passenger side and an occupant opened fire on Pac's car. He got hit 4 times and would spend the next 6 days fighting for his life before passing away at the tender age of 25. There were initially many suspects, including Orlando Anderson and the guy who had gotten into that altercation with Tupac at the MGM Grand. Another theory was that the government was targeting Tupac because of his family's activism. So for those who don't know, Tupac comes from a family of Black Panthers and revolutionaries who constantly fought against systematic racism and police brutality. Because of that, his family members were usually targeted by the police and arrested on terrorism and conspiracy allegations. Some of them went to prison, and some even died behind bars. Tupac's mother, Tupac Shakur, was a political activist and a central figure in the Black Panther Party in the late 60s and early 70s. While she was pregnant with Tupac, Tupac faced trial in New York as a part of the Panther 21 criminal case. She even spent some time in jail for alleged terrorism before eventually being found not guilty of over 150 charges. So when Tupac got shot, there were rumors that he could have been targeted because of his and his family's activism.
My father and Afeni did some very important work back in the 70s when they helped expose the COINTELPRO papers so that people even knew that it existed, until then they were accusing black folks of like, oh, y'all just making it up. Nah, they targeted black leaders, black influencers, people of all shades who were promoting revolutionary thought and education.
Wow, man, I didn't know it was that deep, man.
Oh yeah, it's deep, bro. It's deep. It's hella deep. Deep as Atlantis.
So Tupac was being watched by the government? Because I always heard that rumor, but nobody from, Tupac family ever came out and confirmed it. But hey, I mean, you came out, you confirmed it, man.
Yes, sir. We were all being watched. My father was on FBI's 10 Most Wanted for like 5 years. And that 5-year period, family scattered. We ain't want no part of that. You know what I mean? And they were hunting. They were looking. They were trying to find him.
Do you think Tupac was being watched by the government the night he got shot in Vegas?
Yes. Because Pac was the biggest fish, right? But there was other fish in the sea swimming around that they were also under surveillance. So with that, they pick up a lot of other shit.
Things got a lot more suspicious in 2011 when the FBI unsealed some explosive documents related to the investigation into Tupac's murder. The investigation revealed that Tupac was caught up in an elaborate extortion scheme by the Jewish Defense League, or JDL. The JDL is a religious and political organization in the US that has been classified as a right-wing terrorist group by the FBI. Apparently, they were extorting protection money from Ruthless Records and several other rap music stars and would send them death threats for failure to comply. Tupac was reportedly one of their targets, and the FBI actually linked his death to the death of rapper Eazy-E, who was also a target. The leaked document revealed that JDL and others yet unidentified have been extorting money from various rap music stars via death threats. The scheme involves Blank and other subjects making telephonic death threats to the rap star. Subjects then intercede by contacting the victim and offering protection for a fee. Source reported that Eric Wright, also known as Eazy-E, who owned Ruthless Records, Woodland Hills, California, was a victim of this, an extortion scheme prior to dying from AIDS. Blank had also reportedly targeted Tupac Shakur prior to his recent murder in Las Vegas, Nevada. However, despite all these leads, the investigation into Tupac's death didn't really move forward, and it became a cold case. It wasn't until last year when the police issued a search warrant for a home belonging to Keefe D's girlfriend that the investigation really started to pick up steam. And get this, police found at that house a .40 caliber cartridge, the same type used in the Tupac shooting. When you add that to the fact that Keefe D was doing as many interviews as he could just to talk about how much he knew about Pac's murder, it makes sense that he was on the police radar for years. But as y'all know, Keefe D has always stood by the fact that Diddy was the mastermind behind the whole thing. Well, the investigative team hired by Tupac's family just came through with receipts. They're claiming that the white Cadillac that was carrying the hitman that night has links to Clive Davis, Diddy's mentor and former boss. But that's not all. The investigators are also pointing out so many things that just don't add up about the story. Like, how did only Tupac end up getting attacked despite the fact that Diddy and his crew members were around the same area? How come police never followed up on some of the leads they first got back then? And here's where it gets more interesting. According to Tupac's brother, Tupac Shakur, Diddy was acting sus when the news about Pac's attack first broke. Like, he called him immediately and started trying to convince him that he had nothing to do with the incident.
The boy Puffy called me though. Puffy called me back in the day. He called me, he was like, I just want you to know I ain't have nothing to do with your brother's, you know, I know who you are, but we never met. And I just want to call you man to man, let you know that I ain't have nothing to do with your brother's death. Now, why was he calling me, reaching out to me? Because LA Times had just dropped, it was in the early 2000s, LA Times had just dropped an article in the newspaper implicating him as well. I told him I appreciate the call, but the truth is yet to come out, so we gonna see.
You know, the exact kind of thing someone would do if they were guilty and trying to cover their tracks. Child, with every new detail that comes out of this case, Diddy looks more and more guilty. Of course, none of this has been proven yet, but it's not looking good for Diddy at all. In fact, his lawyers have been in hamster mode trying to debunk all the allegations, but the feds are still all over Diddy like white on rice. But do y'all think Diddy knows more about Tupac's murder than he's letting on? Or is Tupac's family just trying to ride the wave of Diddy's downfall? Comment down below and let's check out this next video.